Charles Leclerc's hometown dreams were crushed by Lando Norris. Welcome back to Fog Racing here for your Monaco Grand Prix qualifying review slash recap. So let's begin with Q1, shall we? I'll tell you what happened in Q1. Not an awful lot until the dying embers, because then Kimi Antonelli stuck it in the wall. And I tell you what, just not the greatest weekend for Mercedes. Like, even if none of them stuck it in the wall, I'm not convinced both guys would have made it through to Q3. I think Antonelli was on the edge of definitely not doing that. But this, in the end, of course, seen Antonelli actually make it through to Q2. But due to the fact he stuck it in the wall, it didn't really amount for hee-haw, because that means he'll start 15th. But the three that went out in qualifying one were Colapinto, Stroll, Gasly, Berman and Bortoletto. But Berman, he takes a 10 place grid penalty. Lance Stroll, he blocked Pierre Gasly, so he adds 3 to his already 1 place grid penalty due to the fact that he just drove into the path of Charles Leclerc yesterday, and that got him a grid penalty. So they'll both start at the back. Colapinto will move up to 18th. So Alpine starting 17th and 18th, Bortoletto in 16th. But I mean, I'm expecting to see those three guys try and make some big moves ahead in tomorrow's race. They are going to be the ones that are going to pit on like lap 1 or 2. But guys I think are also going to be pitting on lap 1 or 2 are the two guys ahead of them, because Antonelli, like I said, crashed out in Q1, but then he made it through the Q2, but obviously couldn't set a lap, so he starts 15th. But George Russell broke down in the tunnel. So Mercedes are starting 14th and 15th. Obviously, they've got more pace in the cars around them, but you can't overtake at Monaco. What are Mercedes going to do? I think it makes sense for Mercedes to split the strategy, right? But we've seen last year at Monaco is that you can literally pit on lap 1 and do 77 laps on one tyre. Now, your tyres are done at the end, and I think if someone behind you, a set of like, 1 lap old tyres came behind you, they could get the job done. But due to the 2-stop being mandatory, honestly, I think Mercedes have got to split. Well, not even split, but at least one of the cars have got to make a pit on lap 1 and then lap 2. That's what you've got to do. I just hope the race isn't flooded with safety cars and red flags. I think one would be perfect in terms of one safety car, because then that in turn would, bunch the field up. And at that, you could be looking at a situation where the field is bunched up and a lot of the lower, bits of the guys on the grid have actually made the 2 stops, or maybe the top 10 haven't, which would be definitely intriguing to say the least. Now, moving on, Hulkenberg was 13th, Shinoda 12th, Sainz 11th, sorry. Albon 10th though, Williams 10th and 11th. I think that's really disappointing. See, considering both they've out-qualified Shinoda and both Mercedes, you would expect them to fill the void in behind, the top 5 that you would expect in both McLarens, both Ferraris and Verstappen, but they didn't do that. It was Lawson 9th, Ocon 8th, Alonso 7th, Hadjar 6th, Verstappen 5th, Hamilton 4th. Hamilton gets a grid penalty, he drops down to 7th, which promotes Alonso, Hadjar and Verstappen. But realistically, pole position, it kind of looked like it was going to be between Norris and Leclerc, and that's the two it was between. I mean, Piastri wasn't a mile off, but still a decent bit off. His teammate, but 2 times behind. Leclerc did a 1:10.0, looked like it was going to do it, but then Lando Norris on a second flying lap got into the 109s, which is the first time at Monaco a car has broken under 70 seconds. So fair play to him. Of course, he's favourite to win the Grand Prix, folks. But here, this strategy business tomorrow. What is going to happen is Lando Norris going to try and do like what's going to happen when like the bottom 5 cars pit. A lot of intrigue, and I like this 2-stop mandatory thing in Monaco. This is what F1's been missing, absolutely. So correct decision, but we'll have to see how it goes. I mean, my prediction is, I predict Alonso to win the race. Guy starts 6th. See if a gap forms behind him and he can get pit stops in. You don't know. You just don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it.